Woody, you're a great cartoonist, and you're a great comic book writer. But you're a lousy bird.
A cartoonist indulges his espionage fantasies while escorting a defecting spy across Europe, where the pair are chased by enemy agents, including the spooky guy who could really use some soothing eye drops.
This is a job for Condorman!
Condorman.
Does the name Condorman mean anything to you?
Condorman is a 1981 film that's what you get if Disney makes a light G-rated pastiche of both superhero and spy movies, and while they're at it, replace any overt violence and sex with slapstick. Condorman is also what a studio accountant will get if they break a mirror. It's a film that's best described as a cult classic, which is shorthand for a film that nobody saw at the time, was critically mauled, and isn't particularly great.
Whoa, hold on.
However, if you watched it on television when you were 6 or 7, then the chances are that you'd been entertained for at least some of that film's short runtime.
Great! One of my favorites!
Condorman is a movie where pleasant memories of it may rely more on the vibes of where you were when you first saw it than the actual film itself. What does that mean? No idea, I just read it on my horoscope, in between the bit about going on a ride on a magic carpet and brunching with Bigfoot.
Harry, Condorman is a real person.
Woodrow Wilkins, better known as Woody, is a comic book artist living in Paris who wants his superhero characters to be real, and as such tries to prove that his creation Condorman could actually fly by building his own working Condorman suit. However, things don't go so well, as Condorman doesn't so much as fly as plummet headlong into the River Seine. He called his character Condorman because it sounded much cooler than more accurate names like Meteorite Man, Incoming Artillery Man, and oh, so that's what gravity is, man. Woody's best mate Harry is a CIA pen pusher in the agency's Paris office, where the agency needs a civilian for a mission. Woody gets the simple job of handing over some papers to another apparent civilian working for the other side. Unfortunately, Woody has let this immediately go to his head, dressing like a 50s stereotype of a spy and doing a pretty poor Humphrey Bogart impression.
You like?
I hate.
His contact in Turkey is Natalia, and the pair have an almost instant rapport. However, much like Captain Caveman, things get a little hairy, though Woody manages to accidentally get out of a jam with the power of slapstick. Woody had been quite taken with Natalia, where he's inspired to use her as the basis of his latest creation, Laser Lady. All of 3 seconds to come up with that name.
Find out who has been using the code name Condorman.
Harry's boss, Russ, gets a message that a foreign agent wants to defect, but will only come over if escorted by the agent known as Condorman. Unfortunately, the CIA have no knowledge of anybody using that code name. They have agents named Vulture Man, Eagle Man, and a Buzzard Man, but having checked twice, there's no Condor Man. They also have a Colin, a Connor, and a Craig, but again, no Condor.
I think I know who's been using that name.
Russ and Harry try to brief Woody about the mission, except he's now got cold feet about the whole spy business, until of course he learns it's Natalia who wants to defect. As a sweetener, the CIA will build him whatever gear he needs. Now, in the normal course of events, building up all of his designs could have taken several years, assuming no delays or dangerous design flaws are found during testing requiring a return to a clean sheet design, but it is a kids movie, so move along, move along. Woody meets up with Natalia in Yugoslavia, where both are as happy to see each other as two oppositely charged magnets. From there, they traipse across Europe to get to safety. Of course, there are complications. Natalia's boss, and implied ex-boyfriend, Krokov, is not going to just sit idly by and glower menacingly. Though, of course, I'm sure if he did, he would do it very menacingly. Grrr. He sends his top henchman, the glassy-eyed Morovich, who leads a crack squad of killers, chasing after the pair in a series of action set pieces that starts off very exhilarating and then goes all wacky as Woody unveils gadget after gadget, all painted in the bright yellow livery of his creation, Condorman. Morovich's crew attack in a fleet of modified Porsches, while Woody's truck is just a cover for the Condormobile, a supercar armed with all manner of weapons. However, Woody and Natalia soon find themselves in jail, saved only by Harry turning up in disguise. After Natalia learns of Woody's actual profession, things will become strained between the pair. She thought she was being rescued by a top agent and not a comic book artist. Look, in the grand scheme of things, it could have been much worse. He could have been an Inca. However, before we're subjected to a lecture about Incas being more than tracers, Natalia is soon recaptured by Krokov.
Harry, 2 days, that's all I ask.
Woody, for his part, is not giving up on Natalia just yet.
5 minutes. Don't worry about me.
Another set of disguises, and Woody rescues Natalia from right underneath Krokov's nose. This time he uses a newer version of the Condor wings, the ones provided by the CIA, and of course now they work. And then there's the high-powered Condor boat, because of course condors are really into water sports. The pair arrive safely in the West, where Natalia can begin a new life with Woody. However, the CIA have some work that they want to throw Woody's way. Ooh, does that mean there's going to be a No, there isn't. Condorman is what you get when a studio that's not usually interested in making films with a huge budget still wants to make its own Disney-fied G-rated version of genres that had traditionally been out of their wheelhouse. In 1981, Disney mostly made G-rated movies, and by mostly we mean almost exclusively, apart from the occasional PG release like The Black Hole, another film that was a financial disappointment and poorly reviewed, yet fondly remembered. While the studio would later have much success in the 80s with adult-oriented films released through labels like Touchstone, 1981 Disney was still aiming its films at kids and family audiences. Which really just means kids. Condorman is meant to be a kid-friendly mixture of a spy movie and a superhero film. For the spy part, imagine a James Bond film with almost any hint of sexiness removed. In a film co-starring Barbara Carrera, that is a phenomenal achievement, worthy of a round of applause. Condorman's storyline seems to have taken story cues from Ian Fleming's James Bond novel From Russia with Love, where Bond is sent to Turkey to help a Russian defector, and the pair are chased across Europe by enemy agents. And then most of Condorman's runtime is taken up with the pair being chased across Europe but getting out of most scrapes by Woody revealing yet another one of his designs come to life.
Before my eye, the race car turned into a hydrofoil.
But compared to a Bond film, Condorman is infinitely goofier.
Who will stop me?
I'm gonna hit you!
If there's any further resemblance to a James Bond film, it would have to be a hypothetical Roger Moore movie where the star huffs an entire tank of nitrous oxide before each take.
Aren't you forgetting Condorman?
The superhero part is mainly there because of the success of films like Superman, but Woody has no special powers other than a dodgy American accent and some incredibly white teeth. So he's more of a softly spoken Batman-type character who uses gadgets to give himself an advantage.
He called himself Condorman.
You've seen the Condormobile, which has a flamethrower and fires lasers that seem to miss their targets. And then if all else fails, you can just drive off a pier and it turns into a hydrofoil. He has a device that climbs cables, a jet boat, and of course the Condorman wings, where apparently in order for them to function, you have to wear the colour-coordinated pyjamas borrowed from a mascot for a chain of fried chicken restaurants.
You're not serious?
I have to say the Condorman costume is my personal least favourite superhero costume in any live-action movie. And of course, condors aren't exactly the prettiest bird.
Condorman?
British actor Michael Crawford had appeared as a lead in a few 1960s musicals, but only became a huge television star in Britain when he starred in the BBC sitcom Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
It was different when we had the car. We could go out for the odd day.
Is it still at the bottom of the river?
Only 3 series were made in the 1970s, but Crawford became so well known as the naive but good-natured fool Frank Spencer that it was very hard for many people to separate the actor from the character.
You can't expect to get on with everyone.
I don't seem to get on with anyone.
Frank Spencer quickly became the impersonation you did when you thought you were a talented impressionist, but subconsciously wanted to tell the world that you were, in point of fact, a lousy impressionist.
I'm a real failure.
On Some Others Do Have 'Em, Crawford showed himself to be adept at slapstick, where he would perform many of his own stunts.
All right, my faculties are all upside down.
Of course, in America at the time, Crawford was a virtual unknown, which was great for the studio accountants, since it made him affordable for a parsimonious studio. Condorman, however, would not make Crawford a major star, nor did it put Frank Spencer out of people's minds. That would come later when he played the lead in Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical The Phantom of the Opera, after which he'd become better known for his singing voice and releasing syrupy albums a week before Mother's Day. Woody's initially happy to play a spy, but lets himself get a little too caught up, where his idea of a spy is something out of a 40s film noir thriller.
I mean, take it easy with the Bogart shtick.
All right, but leave it at Colt, please. It gives me confidence.
Later, he's much more confident when he's the real-life Condorman, complete with the gadgets. 90% of any positive feelings about this film do have to come from Crawford and his effortless energy, enthusiasm and charm. Woody doesn't seem to like the spy stuff as much once people start trying to kill him, but he relents when he has a chance to see Natalia again.
A foolish dreamer who draws comic books, huh?
Laser Lady would say anything to save the man she loves.
Barbara Carrera had been working steadily in movies and television, where she was often playing a variant of a femme fatale character, but here is just somebody needing Woody to rescue her.
The Broknovich is the KGB pursuit squadron. Superb drivers, and each one is a dedicated killer.
Carrera would soon get a chance to revisit the spy genre, playing a harder-edged character, Fatima Blush, in an actual James Bond movie, or sort of, Never Say Never Again. Harry was played by familiar character actor James Hampton, who does look suspiciously like that other Disney Woody, while actual movie star Oliver Reed was Krokov, which is both the character's name and part value judgment on the film.
He is not an agent of the CIA! He is a writer of comic books!
Seeing Ollie Reed in a Disney movie is a bit of a spin-out when you know where he was tattooed. It's also a pity that it was eagle wings and not condor wings.
Is that so?
Also in the film are Dana Elcar and Jean-Pierre Calfon as Morovich, known forever to people who'd seen Condorman at a school event as the guy with the shiny silver eye. I once had a shiny eye, but that was after an accident with a can of silver spray paint and my contact lenses. Common sense dictates that you just get new contact lenses at that point. But when I went to my optometrist, he just ran off screaming, "They're here, they're here." So the moral of the story is don't get spray paint on your contact lenses, don't keep wearing said contact lenses, and don't go to a superstitious optometrist on Halloween after he's just downed a big bag of shrooms.
Woody is Condorman. I am Laser Lady. Who are you?
Condorman was originally inspired by Robert Sheckley's 1965 espionage story, The Game of X, and Sheckley would also later novelise Condorman. The film version was directed by Charles Jarrett, a director known mainly for dramas, though he had done some adventure films before Condorman. After completing work on this movie, he would mainly work on smaller scale features and on television. One of the biggest names associated with the movie was composer Henry Mancini, who provided the film's score. While it's cool and all and the Condorman theme is very memorable, it does seem to be the same 8 bars repeated over and over. The film's direction is fine, though many action scenes are filmed with stunt performers in long shots that does occasionally make the film look like you're watching the stunt show at an amusement park. The film's action scenes are mostly well done, they're fun and reasonably exciting, but it's also really obvious whenever special effects are used, since they're occasionally as obvious as a giraffe trying to hide a tunnel-induced injury with a bright bow tie. The European locations do give the film a level of production value that you wouldn't get had this been filmed on a studio backlot. Interiors, though, were shot at Pinewood Studios in the UK, where funnily enough, a lot of the crew had also worked on Bond and Superman films. The positives, the fun action that's well staged, and a cast that really does make a super simplistic script tolerable. The broad slapstick comedy mostly works, and that's mainly down to Crawford's excellent timing. It's just so generic, a store-brand mix of Bond and Superman called Bupamond.
I delivered simple papers in Istanbul. Nearly got shish kebab by 3 Turkish behemoths.
The spy parts of the movie feel like they were made for people whose last spy movie starred Peter Lorre, and the superhero parts made you wish you were watching Superman the movie, the Richard Lester cut.
Condorman, eh?
Yes, Condorman.
Condorman, though, is really a live-action version of a Saturday morning cartoon, and it's probably the most expensive Saturday morning cartoon you ever saw. But it is one that never ever wants to go beyond that, and never go beyond just adequate.
I'm sorry.
It's happy to be what it is, which of course is good if you're age 6, but for everyone else, well, that's a question for you and your astrologer. According to my astrologer, I'm Taurus rising with the sun and moon ready to crash into each other.
Are you serious?
Very.
Condorman was released in the summer of 1981, and a combination of mixed reviews and moviegoer apathy saw a $14 to $15 million budget end up losing the studio something like $10 million. That implies that the film is much worse than it is. It's nowhere near as bad as that would suggest, but also it's nowhere near as good as some people will tell you based on their recollections of seeing it at an age when most of their peers were still supplementing their diets with boogers.
It's been on my mind for some time now.
But here's the hard question, is Condorman good or is it bad? There's an answer, but one with so many qualifications you think you're looking at the wall of your brain surgeon's office. Condorman is just okay. It's not great, but it's watchable if you want something completely, and I mean completely unchallenging. It's definitely a switch your brain off type movie, which is fine, but ideally you want to be able to switch it back on at least enough to keep your autonomic functions going without life support.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that.
I had seen Condorman when it was first released on home video in the very early 80s, and judging by the only prints in circulation at the time of posting this review, that's about the best quality that you can actually see this film in. When I was a kid, it was, it's alright. Watched it once and then didn't think about it again until I next saw it when a bored teacher would screen it to pupils to kill time at the end of term. Watching it again, and that's just looking at a film that's fondly remembered by some, my reaction is much the same. It's a kid's movie, it's okay.
For the sake of the children.
Also made to look infinitely worse by the lack of a proper high-definition version, where watching Condorman today is like smearing your glasses with Vaseline and then dipping them in a sandpit. The image is just soft and very grainy. If you saw this when you were little and you loved it, then you probably still love it. If you're a grown human who's never actually seen Condorman, there is one surefire way to make sure that you enjoy the movie. That is, invent a time machine, travel back to a point in your own history before you'd ever seen any other movie, but particularly Christopher Reeve's Superman or any James Bond movie, and then show your younger self Condorman, telling them it's the best film they will ever see in their entire life. Condorman is a film whose title you should never say repeatedly, quickly, or loudly at a baptism.
Have you seen this report on this Condorman?
It's a film aimed squarely at kids where, honestly, you probably had to be under 10 when you first saw it to have a high opinion of it. It's something that's just fun enough, but really does squander its potential to be something a bit more memorable. If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.
I'll pay for any damage.